You done now?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Collection. My name is Brad Gilmore. We have an incredible show for you today, following up on what's been a great run of comedy icons. Kenan Thompson, Taran Killam, Jay Leno, Jimmy Fallon. We add to that pantheon today on The Collection because we are going to be talking to Dane Cook. Dane Cook, of course, you remember from the early mid-2000s all the way into the late 2010s as somebody who took the comedy world by storm. He performed in Madison Square Garden, in the Boston Garden, Vicious Circle, Isolated Incident, all these great comedic specials that he came out with. And today on the show, we talk about the latest one, Above It All, which starts on October the 5th. You can get tickets at moment.co/Dane Cook. He shoots this thing in front of his house. We talk about that. We talk about some of his comedic style, the production elements of the special. Talk a little bit about Jack Nicholson. Terrible Jack Nicholson impression, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there one day. We talk about all these things, and Dane Cook, to me, was one of the first comics who I was exposed to. My good friend and next-door neighbor growing up, Emerson Lindley, was the man who showed me Dane Cook for the first time, and I remember sitting in his house, and he showed me this bit about bees, if memory serves me correct. And I remember watching it and thinking about this guy who had this energy about him and this confidence and vibrato and was up there talking about all this silliness that I really thought was so funny at the time. And then you fast forward to a special like Isolated Incident where he got real dark in certain moments, talking about his parents and things of that nature. And he showed his depth as a comic. And of course, there's a couple movies of his that are guilty pleasures of mine. Good Luck, Chuck with Jessica Alba. Employee of the Month with Jessica Biel. Or, no, I'm sorry, Jessica Simpson. Remember the time where all the Jessicas were a big thing? I mean, they still are, but you know what I'm saying. Those are some fun movies of Dane Cook. So we're going to talk to Dane on the show today. So don't go anywhere. Dane Cook joins us this time on The Collection. And he joins me right now to talk about the new stand-up special, Above It All. It's going to be released on Moment on October the 5th. You can get tickets at moment.co/Dane Cook. The comedic icon joins us right now. Dane, how you doing, my friend?
Brad, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, look, we're talking about Above It All. This is your new special. This is the first time you've come out with a special in quite a while. So this is though a different release model. This is Above It All, October the 5th. Why was right now? Why was 2022? Did you feel like you had enough to put this special together? Just kind of talk to me about the moment.
Yeah, Brad, it was really at the start of it, pre-pandemic. It was like, man, I'm coming up on a 30-year victory lap doing what I love, slinging jokes, telling stories. And so the idea was, okay, at every corner of my career, I've had the opportunity to work with incredible people and try to always set the bar, be a disruptor and have a high watermark moment. And when I came up with this idea to film this show in my home in the Hollywood Hills, to bring a couple of thousand people in, put them on my front lawn, and the great legendary Marty Kullner, who directed Vicious Circle and Isolated Incident, he stepped in and said, man, I want to make this another dream come true moment. So we got a really funny show, Brad. I just want people to tune in and have a great time with me. This is for the fans. I made this for the fans.
I mean, having people at your house it's such a cool idea. The one thing I will say about every Dane Cook special I've watched is you can tell that you've put thought into the production and the presentation of it. I think a lot of people get up there and they have the microphone in front of the red curtain and they do their job, and that's fine. But you seem to really kind of think about the experience for the audience member. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, man, I've always tried to key in on a theme, something that's kind of like the through line or the center point. So it just doesn't feel like a bag of jokes that I'm tossing out, something that ingratiates myself, hopefully with that fan, that family, so that years later they want to look back and go, man, that moment still resonates with us. That's my favorite kind of comedy growing up, the kind that you wanted to repeat, that you wanted to quote, the funny things that would get you through tough moments in your life. And I've had the opportunity, gratefully, to be around a lot of fans that have said, hey, man, your stand-up has gotten me through some really precarious moments, and I hope you'll continue to do that. So that was at the center of all of this. Like, let me put out something with Above It All that's going to be for my fans that have grown up with me and their families that are now joining in the fun.
So this comes out on October the 5th. You can get tickets at moment.co/Dane Cook. Now, the release models that I've seen comedians take recently with their specials, people kind of are changing the game. Before it was kind of throw it on HBO, and then it was Netflix was a big and still is a big home for a lot of comedic specials. Why was Moment the place that you wanted to go and release this, a social media platform?
Yeah, I love the platform. I love that it was like a real straight up direct to consumer, almost the way like in TV or cable for years, like pay-per-view was something like you pay your ticket price and you have a show that's absolutely for you that you can keep and save, as opposed to sometimes when you're a performer and you sign a deal with a streamer or a network, they own it. They take that into intellectual property and they, that's kind of theirs. And you almost have to chase after your own paycheck, your own residuals. And I just didn't want to go that route anymore. I've got a global fan base, and I know that people are excited to see something that isn't cheap, isn't put out there just willy-nilly on the fly. This is a labor of love. It's out of my own pocket. I shot it in my own home. And I think it's the best work that I've done in my entire 31 years doing stand-up.
When I saw clips of it online, and again, the special comes out on October 5th. When I saw clips of it online, at first I couldn't tell. I mean, the production looks so great. I couldn't tell if that was a stage that was built for you or a set. And then when I watch a couple more clips, you realize it's at your house. Awesome idea to do it, but why? Why do you feel like I'm gonna do this on my porch in the Hollywood Hills and have thousands of people? I get nervous when I have a soiree at my house and I have 4 people there. I'm like, please don't sit on the couch. Why was this the right one? Why was it to do it here?
Yeah, Brad, growing up was one of my favorite things growing up was when you'd have one of those kind of like warm summer nights where a bunch of your neighbors would kind of congregate on one porch, right? Somebody's stoop would become almost like center stage, and everybody be slinging jokes and razzing each other for whatever, somebody's car keeps backfiring, or next thing you know, you're doing impersonations of your neighbors. Everybody's laughing, right? It was just kind of like a moment that felt like when everybody went back to their homes that night, you felt something like a camaraderie. And I always kept that in my mind and in my heart doing stand-up, that, I'm always visiting these clubs and I'm always on the road. And what would it be like if I invited people onto the front porch and I told my stories, but then added that layer of, real personal, like be able to step outside of the routine and just talk to people in my home, seeing me in the place that, I am the most comfortable in and that I get entertained in. So it's a myriad of stories and a lot of reasoning and a lot of love and time, 4 or 5 years preparing this special to make something that I think is very special.
I'm so excited to see it. I've been a fan of yours, since the early days of the internet. Your jokes were everything. I remember sitting in my neighbor's house and he's showing me the Killer Bees bit on YouTube. I remember all these things vividly. But your style, I think, is very unique. When you look at some of the great comedians of all time, you look at like a Chris Rock, who's a great political commentator and really kind of put everything into perspective. Jerry Seinfeld was the greatest observationalist. Kinison was fearless. Robin Williams had a frenetic energy about him. I feel like you have elements of all those styles within your comedy. How would you characterize, though, your comedic style for people?
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit of what I like to call like a sandbox style, which is I like to get up on stage and have my, kind of pre-planned ideas, but I never want to be so locked into it that I can't find authenticity in a moment. What does that mean? I just want to be able to like really think and hear the crowd's reaction and allow myself in real time to maybe find something funnier in a moment, or even do some commentary on the very thing that I'm sharing. And I think that that's what's ingratiated me over the years with incredible comedy fans around the world is they see I love to prepare and have the mechanics. But then it's like, let's just, let's just throw all that away and have like the time of our life together, creating a show that when that crowd leaves, and you've seen a lot of shows and I've seen a lot of shows, every member of every crowd wants to feel like they're seeing something that no one else is going to see. Not the same set the next night, not the band goes to another city and plays the same 12 songs. Everybody is watching a show going, what's going to happen? And I want to find those moments that people can identify. I was a part of that special thing when it happened on that night.
Hey, man, and a lot of people were a part of the special thing, sitting in your house, on your lawn, watching Above It All, again, October the 5th. This is my last question for you, Dane. Sometimes I go on the YouTube rabbit hole, and I get fixated on a certain individual, and I watch all these videos about that person. This weekend, coincidentally, I went down the Jack Nicholson rabbit hole. I feel like this is one of our great actors of all time. And I saw
that's a good one to go down. Yeah.
It's a great one. Great movies, great scenes, great stories. He's an all-time classic individual. And I happened to see a post that you put up on Instagram years ago talking about the Witches of Eastwick and the church speech at the end of the movie. And you characterized it as one of the greatest things you've ever seen. And this is the kind of role I want to play: scary, sensitive, and unstoppable. I ask you, have you been able to play a role like that?
Well, probably not to the caliber of something, in that direction. I mean, again, we're all, talking about Jack Nicholson here. So, that's rare air. But to lean towards something that he's done, I've had flecks of it in my career. I got to do Mr. Brooks with Kevin Costner, or Dan in Real Life with Steve Carell. But I'm still, I'm a young 50, so we'll see if something comes along that really will allow me to play into both sides, the comedy and the dark corners. That'd be kind of fun.
It would be incredible, and that Jack Nicholson movie is awesome. I love Witches of Eastwick. And Dane Cook, though, I appreciate you for joining us this morning. Again, Above It All is going to be released on Moment on October the 5th. You can get tickets at moment.co/Dane Cook. Dane, thanks for joining us.
Brad, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. That's Dane Cook, everybody.